Area are an Italian rock band generally considered to be progressive and experimental, but incorporating many styles in their music. They were formed in 1972 and they were an important band in the nascent Italian progressive rock scene at the time. Currently, they're in their third period of existence and there are no original members left. They have released 7 studio albums and 6 live albums so far. Hi, my name's Dan, and this is a review of the album Arbeit, Macht, Frei by Area, which was released in 1973 and was their debut studio album. And this is what I call a hidden gem review. So most of the reviews on my channel are from a list. I have found a list at a place called acclaimedmusic.com. That have used critic lists from across the years and done an amalgamated list of the 3,000 best albums of all time. And I'm stupid enough to decide that I was going to try and review all of them. And I'm not halfway through. I'm a bit over a third of the way through, to be honest, 2/5, I think, roughly. Not that that's hugely important, but occasionally I step off that list to do other reviews. And one of those reasons is to review albums that I really like, that I think aren't particularly well known at all. And I call them hidden gems. And this is one of those. So let's get into the album. First of all, the title. So it's an Italian band with a German title, and this phrase Arbeit macht frei, which means roughly work makes you free, was a slogan that was written over gates of German concentration camps during the war. And therefore, as a result of the fact that this slogan's here as the title, you can probably deduce that this album has a certain amount of political content in it. They're an Italian band, and they were at this point, maybe still are. I don't know if that's still legitimate. Part of the Italian prog rock scene. I'm going to get this wrong. Progressivo Italiano, which was around in the early 70s. So a lot of a lot of prog rock. Was British. There was some in America. There's been bits in Australia and various other places. At the time, Dutch, but there were 2 other major countries that had similarities to that. One of them was krautrock, which I just mentioned accidentally, which was based in Germany, and the other one was the Italian prog rock scene. Now, krautrock was less prog in some ways, but made more of an impact in the UK and in the US, I think, than the Italian scene. And it came as a surprise to me quite a few years ago when I discovered that there'd been this Italian prog rock scene. And there were quite a few albums that I heard as I went in my discovery of this that I really liked, and this is one of them. However, unusually, it starts sounding like it could be something completely different again, because it's got a woman talking in Arabic. And then the first track is quite kind of Turkish bazaar stuff. But the rest of the album is more kind of, I guess, solidly prog. Definitely prog. It's quite varied and kind of squarely within the kind of traditions of prog of the time. There's complex rhythms and harmonies and complex structures going on. There's quite a bit of a jazz rock feel and sections that are more experimental. So you could call them noise rock, and you could call some bits free jazz, where the structure's thrown out almost entirely. So it reminds me of, in some ways, and I'm going to make some references here to some prog bands that some may know, many may not. So Gong, British band, Ethos, Japanese band, Return to Forever, and Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin, but also Camel, I want to reference here. Certainly 2 of those were Canterbury scene, and Ethos were a kind of fake Canterbury scene from Japan. And it has a certain kind of Canterbury feel to it, except it's not as gentle. It's got a lot more intensity to it. So we've got here sax, organ, drums, bass, keyboards, guitar. I'm not quite sure if there's anything else in there, but that's certainly the main instruments in the mix. As is often the case for me, the bass and the interplay between the bass and the drums are things that I notice. And for me, those elements are really strong, and so they elevate the album for me. It's as I said, it's got quite an intensity to it. It's fast and energetic, and some really good playing. But also, as well as being technically strong, it's got good feel, and that's what I think elevates it above other prog rock. Not all, but some other prog rock albums of the time. And for a debut album, it's really, really confident. Actually, it's a great album. Singing is this guy Dimitrios Stratos. He's got quite a voice, so he reminds me a bit at times of Levi Stubbs, who was a singer for the Four Tops, who I really know through the film The Little Shop of Horrors, and the kind of a massive kind of over the top delivery. And Dimitrio has this over the top kind of huge, almost theatrical delivery to it. It's in some ways it sounds semi-oriental as well. Not quite sure I can put my finger on that why, but very emotive, quite bonkers at times, in a way that I enjoy. So apparently, as I said, the lyrics are apparently socialist, but they are in Italian, so I don't understand it. My knowledge of Italian is low down there with my knowledge of many other languages of the world. Even in translation, I didn't really understand what was going on. But there we go. I really like it. I listened 3 times. Normally, I only listen twice, but I just had a bit of spare time and wanted something I didn't need to concentrate enough on to think about criticising again. So I listened to it a 3rd time and had it on again as I wrote the notes for this, which is what I usually do. Despite me kind of making all these comparisons to other contemporary stuff, it's by no means copycat. I'd say it's got its own kind of weird identity, and that I think is the hallmark of good prog rock, is that it's its own thing, even though it shares some common DNA. Some people may find it inaccessible at times, I will confess. It's the right kind of weird for me. So it's the kind of thing that I embrace quite a lot. So if you like jazz fusion, so I mentioned people like Mahavishnu, John McLaughlin, and Return to Forever, Chick Corea, that sort of stuff. Even Weather Report and some of the Miles Davis jazz fusion stuff. If you like that, you might like this. If you like the Canterbury scene stuff with Soft Machine and Camel and Gong and stuff like that, you might like this. If you like krautrock, you might like this. If you hate all those things, you might not like this. But, give it a listen and find out. So this, as always, so it's a review, and as always, you get what I think of this album. And as always, at this point, I want to invite you to tell me what you think of this album. So if you do know this album, please give me a comment about your thoughts on it. And if you don't know this album, but you're willing to engage, please give it a listen. And then give me your thoughts on the album. I'd love to hear from you, but that's it from me for now.
Ha ha ha.